Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to tackle a really fascinating but pretty complex book, one that basically flips everything we think we know about our digital world on its head. Yeah, we're talking about Sol Yurick's Behold Metatron. And trust me, it's this incredible deep dive into how information, technology, and power have totally changed the game for what it even means to be human today.
All right, so here's how we're going to break it all down. First up, we'll get into this wild idea that technology is basically a modern myth. Then we'll look at how information is the new magic and how this giant artificial brain is running things. After that, we'll see how all of this makes reality, well, kind of abstract. And to wrap it all up, we're going to hit the big one. Why should you even care about any of this?
Okay, so let's just jump right in with a question that is, really, at the absolute core of what Sol Yurick is getting at. It's one of those ideas that kind of makes you rethink, well, everything.
This is it. This is the big idea in Yurick's book. He's basically saying, look, all our information systems, the internet, the cloud, all of it, they're not just tools, not even close. He argues they're acting like a new, super powerful mythology. They're filling the same role religion used to, giving our society its structure, its meaning, and really its systems of control.
And when you lay it out like this, it's pretty clear, right? Think about it. The high priests of the ancient world, they're today's data scientists. The sacred texts they protected, that's our code, our massive databases. And all that magic, those secret rituals they used to try and shape the world, well, what are algorithms if not a new kind of ritual? It's all about this deep, fundamental human need to find order and have some control over our world. The names just change.
So if we're running with this idea that technology is the new mythology, then what's the magic? Well, it's information. Information itself has become this incredibly powerful force, something Yurick says is literally shaping the reality we live in.
Yurick has this amazing term for it. He calls it a global nervous system. All our interconnected tech has basically created this planetary scale network. And in this system, being able to control how data flows, well, that's the new magic. It's how you interpret and even manipulate the world now. Power isn't just about who has the biggest army anymore. No way. It's about who controls the flow of information.
And this really just drives the point home, doesn't it? The parallels are incredible. Back then, you had ancient magicians or shamans guarding their secret knowledge to stay in power. Fast forward to today, and you've got information gatekeepers, the big tech companies, governments, controlling the data that shapes our world. An ancient shaman doing rain dance and a modern analyst building a predictive model, they're both trying to do the same thing. Use special knowledge to control the world around them. The tools are different, but the goal, it's exactly the same.
Okay, I know this all sounds a little abstract, right? A global nervous system. So to make this idea really concrete, Yurick grabs this incredible metaphor from Jewish mysticism. He talks about a figure named Metatron.
So in mysticism, Metatron is he's like a divine scribe, an angel who literally records everything, all of God's knowledge, everything humanity has ever done. He's the ultimate keeper of the books. And Yurick says, that's it. That's what we've built. Our whole global network of servers and databases, it's become this great artificial brain, a modern-day Metatron that's constantly watching, recording, and processing everything we do.
And here's the really crucial part, how this whole thing actually works step by step. First, something happens in your life, an experience. Then that experience gets recorded, turned into a bunch of data points. After that, algorithms chew on that data, sorting and categorizing it. And what's the end result? You, your life, your personality. You become this fragmented data profile, just a simple little shadow of yourself living inside this massive system. So you might be thinking, okay, so what? My life gets turned into data, but this is where it gets really serious. This whole process has massive real-world consequences because it starts to detach us from reality. It changes how we think about the most basic things like what has value, what our history is, even what time means. To really explain this shift, Yurick compares two completely different ways of seeing the world. On one hand, you've got Dante's world, the medieval mindset. It was pretty static, all about sin and salvation. But then you have Faust's worldview. And that's us. That's the modern world. It's all about constant, relentless progress, chasing after more knowledge, more power, no matter what the cost. Our technology is pure Faust. It's this drive to overcome all our human limits using information. And maybe the best example of this abstraction is money. Just listen to this quote from Yurick.
Money contains a past. It is a memory and energy storage. I mean, think about that. He's saying money isn't just cash in your pocket. In our digital world, it's become something totally abstract, a kind of stored memory of work someone did, totally disconnected from the actual person or the sweat that went into it.
And this way of thinking, this abstraction, it seeps into everything. Suddenly, value isn't about what something is worth to a human, it's just a number blinking on a stock ticker. History isn't what happened, it's a story that powerful people tell to keep their power. Even time gets turned into a product you can buy and sell with things like debt. We end up completely disconnected from the very systems that are supposed to be running our lives.
So we get to the big question, the so what? Why is it so critical to look at our world this way, to see this new mythology for what it is?
Well, here's Yurick's big warning for us. When you turn information into just another product to be bought and sold, you create a whole new kind of inequality, and it is deep. We all thought the internet would be this great democratizing force, right? But Yurick argues it's doing the opposite. It's concentrating power with the very few who control the data, and it's pushing everybody else to the margins.
And what you get is a brand new social pyramid. It's not based on land or money in the old sense. At the very top, you have the information gatekeepers. They're the new high priests. Then there's the middle tier, that's most of us, the data-literate participants. We can play the game, at least a little. But at the very bottom, you have the unconnected, the marginalized, and they are completely locked out of this new power structure.
And so in the end, Yurick leaves us wrestling with this one last, really challenging question. If our technology is a myth, what gods are we creating? It's a question that puts the responsibility right back on us. As we keep building this great artificial brain, we have to stop and ask ourselves, what are we programming into it? What are its values? What kind of gods are we building into the invisible systems that are, for better or for worse, now running our world?